And we are live. Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock, Thursday, May 29th. Game 5, Knicks, Pacers. I'm Josh Engelman, here to break it all down. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter, at Josh Engelman. We are here, folks. This could be the last basketball game we have for a week. The Indiana Pacers win this game, we don't have basketball again until Thursday. That would be awful. None of us want that. But do we want the Knicks to win? I guess we do. I think we have to. So that's what we're here for today, to break it all down. Like, subscribe, notification bell. What's going on, everybody? Are we ready? We've got 28 and a half minutes to go until lock. I have a sim ready to go with my stuff. Questions galore. If that's what you're looking for today, we can touch on everything. We got more than enough time to do it. So here's the deal. We had injury news heading into today. Aaron Nesmith, questionable. Karl Anthony Towns, questionable. Both guys are in. Towns starting. They're sticking with the Mitchell Robinson starting lineup. So, business as usual in terms of the lineups. How healthy are these two guys? I wouldn't even begin to hazard a guess. Do I think that Aaron Nesmith actually does have a sprained ankle? Yeah, probably. Seems like he's got treatment. Hopefully, if they win, he gets a week off of rest. Is Towns hurt right now? Absolutely. He was not moving well down the stretch of game 4. I think we'll find out once the playoffs are over that something else is wrong even more than that, and he needs surgery or something. So, yes, it's difficult to pin down the health of both Aaron Nesmith and Karl Anthony Towns. So, I really don't have much of a take on it. I'm just going to play these guys normal, or at least I'm not going to be making any changes to imply that I think I know something that I don't. The Knicks are 4.5-point favorites, or at least they were the last time that I looked. And if that's the case, I'm going to assume that Towns is okay, and we got a full one out of Nesmith last time out. I'm going to assume that he's okay too. As of right now, and I have it pulled up on the screen so you guys can see it. Wait, what's this? Oh, I thought we already had the notification for the Pacers lineup. Then it just came in. I got very nervous. So we've got, at least on our last run, let me see if we have any update. I'm assuming we'll get an ownership update in the next 2 or 3 minutes, but nothing's going to change for the most part. Brunson, 20% owned in the captain spot. Haliburton, 15. Towns, 15. Hart and Siakam, essentially 10. That's where we stand right now. Now, I talked a bit about it on the strategy show earlier today, and we talked through the Jalen Brunson scenario. This is a guy who has been dreadful when Aaron Nesmith is on the floor and incredible when he's not. Now, I'm going to read this off just so if you didn't watch the strategy show, you can know how this has been going. In the Eastern Conference Finals, so through the first 4 games, when Aaron Nesmith is on the floor, Jalen Brunson is scoring 26 points per 36 minutes and shooting 40% from the field. When Aaron Nesmith is off the floor, Jalen Brunson is scoring 52 points per 36 minutes and 71% from the field. He scores twice as many points so far this series when Nesmith is off compared to on. So if you like Brunson today, I think you probably naturally want to like Aaron Nesmith a little bit less. And if you like Aaron Nesmith today, you probably need to like Jalen Brunson a little bit less. Now, obviously, Nesmith could get into foul trouble and make his threes, and that doesn't, that'll still work out. And obviously, Jalen Brunson can just make the shots he takes today if Nesmith is on him. They're going to be really hard, but they can just go in. So that's sort of the path that I see for Brunson and Nesmith. And as of right now, with no manipulation to my exposures, Jalen Brunson is my most exposed captain. He's my most exposed player. And I'm about half the field of Aaron Nesmith. Is that my particular favorite scenario I've ever had? No. Is it like, does it work for me? Absolutely. So as of right now, Aaron Nesmith is my third biggest fade, and Jalen Brunson is my fourth biggest stand. That's what I'm getting to so far. If we're talking about the rest of captain, I am over on Haliburton, but I'm giving it back on the utility side. And for the most part, I'm okay with that. If Haliburton's not in the captain spot, he does have a pretty significant salary at 11.4. He's the most expensive guy. He's $400 more expensive than Jalen Brunson. So if Tyrese Haliburton isn't in the captain spot, I'm okay with being a little lighter in the utility spot. I don't have a huge issue with that. I either want the massive Haliburton game, or maybe he's not cost effective in the utility. And then we get to Towns. Now, I got to be honest. He scares me. I don't have a good feel for his health. I do like the matchups over and over again for him. I don't think they really have a good Towns stopper. He seems to be stopping himself more than anything else, but every once in a while he just has a quarter where he's very clearly the dude. Like, more than anybody else in this series, I think, we've seen Karl Anthony Towns just simply take over. And I think he could do that more than anybody else in this game. But he's dinged up. And dealing with that isn't easy. But I am slightly over the field on his projected ownership right now, both at the captain spot and at the utility spot. We got an ownership update 1 minute ago, so I'm going to kick off my final run of my exposures. So let's start that sim now as I continue to touch on a couple of these captains, because really I'm kind of just focused on the two main guys, and then I'm slightly over on Siakam and slightly under on Josh Hart. Josh Hart's the one that is probably the most interesting conversation point. 7,600, so we're starting to get a little bit of a Josh Hart discount. Not surprising. He hasn't been in the starting lineup for the past 3 games. But he's pulling 9% ownership. That's more than Siakam, and the fourth most of anybody on the DraftKings side. Where do you guys land on Josh Hart? Because I have a little bit more at utility, a little bit less at captain. He scares the hell out of me in the captain spot, but at the same time, back against the wall, down 3-1, going back to New York. Would it be all that surprising if Josh Hart was like the heartbeat, pun intended, of this game, and he has 11, 10, and 10 with, assorted defensive stats? I mean, you wouldn't even need the defensive stats at that point, but you see where I'm going with this. Yeah, he's the kind of guy that could do that, especially in this sort of matchup. So I'm okay being neutral to Josh Hart, but the captain spot scares me a little bit. You know who doesn't scare me, but probably should? It's Miles McBride. Because this guy has been good in this series, and they've been good when he's been on the floor. Now, I don't want to overreact to small samples. This is a 4-game sample. But when he's been out there, they haven't died. None of the underlying data looks weird or bad to me. Tibbs has been playing him less. I can't figure out why. But what if they don't want to play Landry Shamet and DeLon Wright as many minutes today? Maybe they don't want to give those guys, 15 total minutes. Could that be the case? Because if it is, it feels like we get a little bit more of Miles McBride in that scenario. Maybe that's me. I don't know. But as of right now, Miles McBride is my third biggest stand. We have him currently projected for about, what do we have it here? Where's he hiding? 20% ownership overall, 19 at the utility. I've got well north of 30. To me, he's a fantastic value option today and not necessarily pulling the ownership I would expect. I mean, he's really the lowest owned guy of anybody real. Although maybe we should be thinking that Ben Shepherd or Mathurin are more real at 2,400 and 3,600, but 19% ownership for McBride, you can see it fall off the cliff then. It drops to 7 for Shepherd. That's a stand I want to take today. I think when push comes to shove, the natural experience from Tom Thibodeau is going to be leaning back on the guys that brought him here. I don't think he wants to play DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet more, although for the past 2 games he has. But if that goes away, McBride by default is getting a couple extra minutes. And that's really all that I'm looking for. Now, we have some other options that we need to talk about. I'm exporting my lineups right now. So whatever I have is about to show up, not on the screen, but in my lineups, and we can talk through it. These are going to be the official Josh Engelman plays of the day. So I can talk through my legitimate exposures right. I was about to say right now, but it'll be right now in 10 seconds. All right. Whatever I have in my sheet right now is going to be my lineups. So hopefully everything that I just said over the past 15 minutes is going to stay the same. And for right now, it is. So I'm going to hit you guys with my personal extremes because I think that'll be easier to detail. If I'm not talking about a guy in this next stretch of 10 different people that I talk about, you can assume that I am neutral to the field on those people, or at least very, very close to neutral to the field. The biggest fade that I have right now, actually, give me a half second. It's probably in my best interest to actually paste my lineups into my upload sheet and put them in before I actually forget to do that. Okay, lineups are in. My biggest fade of anybody on today's slate is Tony Bradley. Tony Bradley is currently projected for 38% overall ownership, essentially all at the utility spot. I am quite a bit under. I have 4% of Tony Bradley. 4. That's it. 1, I'm not a huge fan of getting the backup center for the Pacers on the road today. I think if you're ever going to see Tony Bradley turn back into Tony Bradley, Game 5 in MSG feels like that kind of game. We need to remember that this guy isn't good and no one's ever wanted him. No matter what the Pacers have been squeezing out of him for the past 2 or 3 games, he's still Tony Bradley. Is he a good value play? Absolutely. There's a reason Tony Bradley is 38% owned. He's incredibly cost effective. By all accounts, he has just taken the job from Thomas Bryant. But we need to remember that he's also not guaranteed that job permanently. He can very easily just become himself. But he's a flat 1K, and we should expect him to play around 10 minutes today. That's great value. 100%, no disagreement that it's great value. But as I look at it for me, with the way that I'm trying to play Showdown tonight, I am trying to lower my dupes at least a little bit. And as best I can tell, the easiest way for me to do that is to have a bit less of Tony Bradley. So he is my biggest fade, and it's not close. Projected for 37% ownership, I have 3. My second biggest fade, I guess I might as well loop in with my third biggest fade. Both of these guys negative 20% relative to the field. Aaron Nesmith, cool with it. Cool with it. I'm willing to take the light stand on Nesmith today, given my Jalen Brunson exposure. I'm also quite light on Andrew Nembhard. That doesn't bother me either. This has not been a great series for Nembhard. He's a bit of an afterthought. I think he has something like a 14% usage rate in this series. When you're playing Haliburton more, you still, like, Nembhard is just less involved when he's playing alongside another primary ball handler. And that's what we're seeing. And it's what we see in the regular season too. Nembhard ends up getting shots in these series. End of the shot clock. First action or second action failed. Ball comes back out. 8 seconds. Nembhard's taking whatever matchup he has, and he ends up shooting like a contested 15-footer. I've seen it for 4 straight games. More often than not, I don't expect those to go in because that's just not Andrew Nembhard's bag. So I am light on Nesmith. I am light on Nembhard. I have no issues with the first 3 big fades. They are pretty big fades to the Pacers. I'm okay with that. My 4th biggest fade is OG Anunoby. More than anything, that is just one of those scenarios where you've got Mikal Bridges 30-ish% owned, Aaron Nesmith 30-ish% owned, Anunoby 30-ish% owned, Turner 30-ish% owned, Hart 30-ish% owned. All these guys are in like the 6 to 7 to 8K range. It's that mid-tier. Eventually, you just have to not be playing one of them. Do I like not playing Anunoby? No, I don't. I don't know why I just got logged out of that one, but we'll load that back as quickly as we can. There we go. If that were Bridges, if that were Hart, sure. You can't play every single one of the Knicks wings. At least for right now, I'm fading Anunoby. I don't have a take in that range for it. My 5th biggest fade is TJ McConnell. He's 27% owned. I have 23. Not much to read home there. Here are the stands that I'm taking. And this I hate. So let's just put that out there. My biggest stand is DeLon Wright in this moment. I think it's very likely that he doesn't see the floor. I'll be honest there. $1,600. For some reason, he's $600 more expensive than Tony Bradley. I couldn't even begin to tell you why. But ultimately, I just kind of need DeLon Wright to beat Tony Bradley. Do I think that's likely? Not as likely as I want it to be. But if DeLon Wright's going to be 6% owned and Tony Bradley's going to be 38, I'll take that ownership discount and I'll cross my fingers at that ratio. My 2nd biggest stand is equally as garbage. It's Ben Shepherd. It felt like a little bit more money was coming in on Ben Shepherd today than I would have expected. But 2,400, 7% owned. I'm making the stand on the value plays of DeLon Wright and Ben Shepherd. I'm not making the stand on the value plays of Tony Bradley, of Landry Shamet, and I guess I have a bit of Benedict Mathurin, but just not enough to land in my top 5. Brunson is my 3rd biggest stand. Towns is my 4th biggest stand. Obi Toppin is 5th. I think that's just a function of the way that my lineups are getting built. But that's the long and short of where I stand for right now. If you guys want to see the FanDuel side of this one, very simple. 18% ownership coming into Haliburton, 16 to Brunson, 14 to Towns. The real outlier here, 11.5% to Pascal Siakam. He's coming in quite a bit cheaper than those other 4 options. Very cost effective to get to Pascal Siakam on the FanDuel side. And then you've got still a bit coming into a $6,800 Josh Hart, which I think makes some sense. Probably a little bit more interesting on the FanDuel side too. Can't shoot worth shit, so the 3-point bonus doesn't matter. Definitely a defensive stats type guy. Those are worth more on FanDuel. So I do like Josh Hart on the FanDuel end more than I like him on the DraftKings side. In terms of value on FanDuel, I find Mitchell Robinson to be pretty interesting, just given the hierarchy of ownership. Did it go well for him last time out? Hell no. Should it go a lot better for him in New York? Yeah, you would think. And he's one of the lower owned dudes on the FanDuel side. 3,800, not all that crazy. Defensive stats. What if there's a Mitchell Robinson block party tonight when anybody gets into the paint? Those stats will add up pretty quickly on the FanDuel end. Light ownership to Nesmith, I think, is fine, especially if you're trying to play Jalen Brunson. It's this chunk of value where, like, if Haliburton and Brunson and Towns and Siakam, like if 3 of those 4 guys are really good, then finding the McConnell, Toppin, McBride, Mathurin, Bradley, Shepherd, like finding the guy in that bottom section is where you'll be very interested. I have a hard time believing McBride isn't the guy I would want there. If I'm taking someone in this low range on FanDuel, give me the guy that by all accounts is going to play 12 to 24 minutes for the Knicks today in McBride at $200 above the minimum, 5% owned. That's the value play I'm trying to go to if I'm jamming some of these high dollar guys, because that ownership number just feels a little light if you need it. Especially, like, I don't think it's even going to get 3 of those top 4 guys. It's probably not even all that difficult if you're willing to go down to someone like Miles McBride. All right. We are through 22 minutes. I want you guys to do one big thing for me, and it's hit the like button right now. Full-time sprint for the next 7.5 minutes. If you've got questions, I've got answers. Drop them into chat right now, and I'll hit you guys with whatever you want to know. I'll pull up anything. We got all the time in the world. Jazz G Money says, Shepherd makes no sense, so he will score 20 fantasy points somehow. Exactly. That's like, there's always going to be something stupid that pops up on one of these slates. It's not like I look at it and think, man, you know who's a real asset today? Ben Shepherd. Like, that's not what I'm thinking. All righty, let's see what we got here. Joski, favorite captain, mid-range, and value. My most exposed captain right now is Jalen Brunson. I would say my favorite mid-range play is probably... Well, shit, I don't even know if I have one. Who do I have the most of that's like in the mid-range? Favorite value play is probably Ben Shepherd. I have more of Ben Shepherd than I have of anybody else in terms of value. Please don't take that as an endorsement of Ben Shepherd. I just like the ownership. Man, mid-range is tough for me. I assume we don't count Mitchell Robinson in mid-range at 3,800, but like that's probably my answer. All right, what else we got? Thank you for that, Joski. Best captains, I assume under 10% is the question. That would be Pascal Siakam for me. If the Knicks go small, who do I think benefits the most? What do you mean by small? Shamit or Wright on DK is a question. So if you're asking me if I were just choosing one of these guys, who would I take? I think I would take Shamit. If we're basing this based on my exposures, I don't have Shamit and I have all of the DeLon Wright. I don't think I should be doing that, but that is what I'm doing. But Shamit's 2K, DeLon Wright's 1,600. I don't hate it. So give me Shamit, give me Wright in that scenario, because that is what I'm playing. So the only thing that I could tell you guys is to do what I don't even want to tell you to do what I have, because that's not Everything is in the context of the lineups. But all I can tell you is I have a lot of DeLon Wright and I don't have Landry Shamet. Top 3 captains on DraftKings. This is going to be a very unfun answer, but Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, and Haliburton. Who wins today? Hard to say that it's not the Knicks, given the line right now. Back at home, back against. We've seen a couple of these scenarios where teams roll into situations like this. You really do run into a buzzsaw a bit. Any Precious burn? Feels like no. Could he get out there for like a 2-minute rotation or something? Yeah. Not a guy that I'd be paying attention to today. If Precious is the guy you need, I will not be winning today. What else we got? Thoughts on Bridges for FanDuel? A completely innocuous play. A little bit more owned than I would expect at 7,200, but at home, don't mind it. He's just a guy, though, to me. Like, a lot of the mid-range, it's really difficult for me to say, like, Hart, Anunoby, and Bridges on FanDuel are all call it like 42, 43, 44% owned. They're separated by $1,000. There's no real way for me to like prefer one of those guys. They're so similar that if I were like, oh, I really like that guy, that would just be a lie. Oh, there's a good one. T22 Tokes. Any Mathurin exposure on DraftKings? Actually, yes. We have him currently projected for 6% ownership on the DraftKings side. I have Benedict Mathurin in 15% of my lineups. Now, do I like that? No, I think Benedict Mathurin sucks. And I don't expect him to just draw 4 fouls in 20 seconds and shoot like 8 free throws and not miss like he did last time. But when he's on the floor, he's certainly going to try to do those things. Benedict Mathurin, big fan of doing whatever he can for himself. He's an interesting value option, another low-owned guy, and at the very least, he has the DNA of like a microwave scorer. Take my chances. My guess is Benedict Mathurin on the road in MSG in this game is not the guy that I want, but as a DFS play, I think he's very different. Yeah, Jeremy, I don't even know if that's true. I agree that he's 100%. Well, he's barely a one-way player, but he's definitely an offense-only guy. If he gets going, he might not get minutes. He got going in the last one and still only played 12. McBride or Toppin on FanDuel? Ooh, I mean, pretty naturally, it seems like Toppin is a better play than McBride, but I do think there's more upside in McBride. McBride or Shepard on FanDuel would definitely be McBride for me. I don't know why Tibbs isn't playing him as much as I would expect. I guess, it does create a bit of a small backcourt, but I think if anything happens in this game and Tibbs starts to lean on him, you can see more McBride. Whereas on FanDuel, I think you need a very specific Ben Shepard game and probably something to have. Like another ancillary benefit of having Ben Shepard today the way that I do is that if I'm going to be light on Aaron Nesmith, Ben Shepard is probably the next guy up in that scenario. Not that that's going to go well, but he does have that sort of path of like getting a bit more of Nesmith, and I'm already light on Nesmith, so I don't mind that. And we're locked. And we're locked. That was probably the fastest half hour of my life. I remember saying that I had 7.5 minutes, and then I guess I rambled for those 7.5 minutes. Well, good news is, folks, it's time for basketball. Is this on ESPN or TNT? And we're on TNT, so this game's going to start in like 4 minutes. You could watch this game on playback right now on our playback channels. Playback.tv/Stokastic. There's a link in the description, and there's one in chat right now. Click that link, head to playback, watch the game, chat along with everybody else. Everybody's seeing the same stream. I'm going to pop into chat over and over throughout today's game because this is a much more interesting game than Thunder Wolves. And if we get anything close later tonight, you best believe I will pop on to playback for the fourth quarter if we've got a competitive one. My wife's out of town. She's in South Carolina right now. I'm sitting at home with the pups. It's a guy's night. We're going to crack a beer. We're going to watch some basketball and hopefully sweat out some good lineups. So guys, hit the like button on your way out the door. Thank you for being here. Saturday. If the Indiana Pacers don't get it done today, this game is on Saturday, and I will be here for you guys, breaking it down, strategy show and live before lock style. Good luck, everybody. I will see you guys later.